So the mission of the River Management Society is to support professionals who study, protect, and manage North America's rivers. Their goals include promoting sound science and cutting-edge research in river management and facilitating networking and educational outreach to build lasting partnerships across geographical boundaries, just like our rivers flow across geographical boundaries. In 2000, the River Management Society bestowed the first Frank Church Wild and Scenic Rivers Award that recognizes an individual involved in management, enhancement, or protection of congressionally designated wild and scenic rivers. This year's recipient is the first non-agency personnel to receive the award and my good friend. I'm thrilled to present this award with past River Management President Jim McCartney, Jamie Fosberg, who couldn't be with us today, and I nominated this year's recipient. So Jim is going to tell you about the award, and then we're going to give it, and this person doesn't know they're getting it.
Specifically, the Frank Church Wild and Scenic Award recognizes an individual who has advanced awareness of wild and scenic rivers, worked effectively and cooperatively to build partnerships to promote, enhance, or manage wild and scenic rivers, exhibited leadership in promoting and protecting wild and scenic rivers beyond designated lines on a map, or demonstrated, developed, or creatively adapted innovative wild and scenic river management techniques. And I guess I should also mention, for those of you who don't know, Frank Church was one of the champions of the Wild and Scenic River Act and introduced the bill into Congress, and so this award is named after him. And I'm just going to read a couple of excerpts from the nomination for the recipient, because I think these excerpts exemplify why this individual is quite deserving of this award. This nomination recognizes the outstanding and sustained commitment of John Little, board member of the Missisquoi River Basin Association, resulting in the designation of the Missisquoi trout in Vermont as that state's first national wild and scenic rivers in December 2014. In 2004, after learning about the National Park Service's partnership approach to wild and scenic rivers in New England, John began a local campaign in the 10 municipalities bordering the upper Missisquoi and Trout rivers in northern Vermont to seek a congressionally authorized study, wild and scenic study. That 5-year campaign led to passage of authorizing legislation for the study in 2009. Between 2009 and 2013, John spearheaded the MRBA's involvement in the wild and scenic study of the upper Missisquoi and Trout, playing a key role in development of the study, the locally based management plan, and ultimately successful town meeting votes in favor of wild and scenic designation in 9 out of 10 communities. From the outset, John understood the importance of garnering local support for wild and scenic designation. He met with local citizens on front porches, at kitchen tables, in dairy barns, throughout the watershed, to talk about the wild and scenic river system and the unique qualities of the Missisquoi and Trout rivers, and to seek support. John also met personally with boards of selectmen in each of the 10 municipalities along the upper Missisquoi and Trout rivers to explain and promote the benefits of wild and scenic designation to the local communities. His outreach efforts ultimately resulted in obtaining letters of support from all 10 municipalities and were crucial to securing endorsement by Vermont's congressional delegation. In December 2014, Congress passed the Missisquoi and Trout designation legislation as part of the Omnibus Parks legislation appended to the Defense Appropriation Act. John's tireless commitment to designation, community activism, and involvement and can-do attitude were instrumental in the designation of these rivers. While many individuals and organizations played important roles throughout this 10-year process, 11, none was more pivotal or more centrally engaged in all phases than John Little. It's my great pleasure to give this award to John.
I promised we'd get them a picture, so smile for Joanne.
Wait a sec, hold on.
All right. Now you get to talk about it.
If I can crash this party real briefly. Also in honor of the occasion, Senator Leahy wants to present you with this flag that was flown over the Capitol in honor of the occasion, as well as a certificate to that effect. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Good work.
Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Bummer. All right. What was I supposed to talk about, Shayna?
Just say some words of thanks
Well,
and how you got all of us started.
yeah. Wendy, where are you? Wendy and I went to a river rally, a conference years ago, '04. I should have been smart enough this morning to get my river rally shirt too, but instead I'm wearing an MRBA t-shirt underneath here. I've been thinking about things for a while, and the whole story really starts probably in '92, '93. Getting the MRBA put together. Mike Manahan, where are you hiding? I think one of the two people who went to the first meeting in Richford complaining about the water quality, and Mike sits quietly, usually trying to stay out of the limelight, but he's still with MRBA, still volunteers all the time, and got roped into the Wild and Scenic process, and he won't tell you much, but it's huge. It's Wendy started us thinking about the thing from the meeting Park Service people, and oops, that's gonna keep going. And a few beers and some Park Service people, and they convinced me that maybe we had a wild and scenic river. And I'd paddled the Missisquoi from Lowell all the way to Champlain about a month beforehand, and saw some stuff that I had never seen paddling in Canada or the equal of way up in Canada, and pretty wild. And then I met the Park Service people that had to bring them back here to Vermont later that year to say, listen, wild and scenic, that to me means the Allagash, other places. You live in a place for a while and you kind of grow used to it, and it's just your place. And then we have a tendency to go somewhere else to vacation, to enjoy. And they came up and they said, yeah, maybe. Yeah, we think you got some stuff here, but well, so how do we get this designation? And they talked about it, and we ended up thinking, okay, well, we got to get letters of support. What the hell are those things? And so that ended up being, you go to your towns, and then it's like which towns? And Troy had the wildest. Well, scenery is all over the place around this area. And then, I don't know. I live in Montgomery, so people say, wow, the trout, you got to put the Trout River in there. And then, but to go from Troy and Lowell to Montgomery and the trout, you got to go through Berkshire and Richford, and so we started putting things together. Canada was a bit of a problem, but the Park Service said no, just ignore them. And and there was lots and lots of discussion and all kinds of things, and great idea. So '05 and '06 start wandering around trying to get to select boards, and every select board in Vermont seems to meet on the first or third Monday of the month. And when you got about 10 village boards, town select boards, it takes a while to get around. And it took a couple of years, and things were looking good. And then Jim Jeffords retired. Said, crap, we lost some seniority. That's bad news. But the next year, '08, change in the presidential tone, I guess you'd call it. Our congressional representatives introduced a bill to authorize a 3-year study, and that sat and sat and sat, and it finally came through a year and a half or so later, if my memory's right. And so then it's like, okay, good, we got that thing. Now what do we do? And then it was like, try and go find people like Jake, Ann. Put your hand up, Ann. Yeah. Wonderful river advocate. And I know I'm forgetting people, but got some endorphins coursing right now, so brain cells are going out just like my high school students right now. You have to put together a committee, because in order to put together a committee, you got to hire somebody. You got to have a committee to hire, and so we went through that whole process. And MRBA has been instrumental the whole time, just making sure that money from the Park Service gets deposited responsibly, I think. Is that it? So make sure that nobody does any sex scandals or absconds in there, so I don't know. 08, 09, I think we hired Shayna, and then that sort of kicked off the 3-year study, which wasn't quite 3 years, don't tell the feds, but it was a little bit longer. And that was, generated up to a town meeting vote in March of 13. Basically, will the town support going back to Congress? First experience wasn't exactly that short and sweet. So it was, like, okay, whatever, let's try. And most of the towns, one exception was Lowell. I still got hopes. We got time. This piece back here I'd like to see added to at some point. And it's that whole thing. Almost all the towns came through, which, as Jake said, was pretty impressive. So that happened, and then sit and wait and wait. And sitting in my classroom last December, getting a few emails about Congress and the bill is, and then just listening to the news was like, forget this. It ain't going to happen. Last week of Congress, and I'm trying to survive high school in a classroom, and it's like, nah, this ain't going to happen. I need Christmas break. I'm out of here. And a few days before the end, somebody sends me an email saying, it's in the defense budget. I said, what? And it's 1,600 pages, and it was on page 1,400 and something. And I was like, nah, it ain't real. That makes no sense. And somebody sent me a copy of it, and I kind of poked my way through to page 1,400 and whatever, and sure enough, there's the word Missisquoi and trout, and it's like, oh man, cool. And then I guess I'll finish up with saying that a day or two of elation and jumping up and down and trying to be a high school teacher in my classroom and do something, and then I realized that shit, that's going to mean a whole bunch of more meetings. And those are about to start, I think, soon. So I do want to thank, there's a ton of you guys out here who have been really supportive. Buzz, if all of you could stand up, it'd be great. Come on. Jake, yeah, everybody. Northern Forest Canoe Trail crew, too. Thank you guys. It ain't me. It's you guys.
I don't know, you have the plaque. Congratulations, John.